ISD community. My name is Keyhla Calderon-Lugo and I am the Public Information Officer for Edgewood ISD. Thank you for joining us for this conversation with our superintendent as we say goodbye to 2020. Thank you to everybody that is joining us this morning, also from outside of our community and who may be watching. Thank you for joining us. And so, Dr. Hernandez, we are so excited to have this conversation with you to close out the year 2020. It's incredible that we're in the month of December already.
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity just to kind of sit down and have a conversation about what 2020 has taught us, what we've learned, also all the different things that are going on in our district at this time, and of course what could possibly be coming in 2021 as we continue to lead through this very unprecedented time right now.
And so as we talk about 2020, one of the things that we've realized is we're seeing an example of it right now, having to wear our face masks. So we're recording so that way we follow the appropriate safety protocols that are being asked of us for this year. Because again, 2020 has just been an incredible year, starting in March when we had to make the decision, right, to close the schools because of this COVID pandemic. You talked about a lot of lessons learned this year. Talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things as a superintendent that you've learned and how we've had to adapt in living in this COVID-19 world now.
You know, the beauty of having a consistent set of core values is that no matter what happens in the world, if you go back to your core, you know, what makes you as a person, as an organization, then you're more likely to be able to lead people through a very difficult time. So I think one of the things that I've learned is that our core values of PAC, specifically being professional, being accountable, and communicating, still hold firm. It has probably been even more extremely important on the C part of it, the communication piece. It's making sure that you consistently communicate, that you over-communicate, and that you learn to be repetitive. I have an expression that I always share with folks is that when you want to share something with folks, you have to do it 7 times, 7 different ways. That is what research tells us it takes for individuals to be able to assimilate, understand, and make information part of their working knowledge. And so really just communicating, really challenging myself at using other forms of communication beyond social media, all different, learning new different ways of communicating, and making sure that I, as the leader of the district, really understand specifically where I intend to take our district, especially in the time where information changes literally by the second because of the way the pandemic really was working here in Bexar County and in the nation and the world as a whole.
And I know you've mentioned on several occasions as well, just how proud you are of our district because of how they've adapted to the changes that have come, sometimes so unexpectedly.
Yeah, you know, our folks, we really have very honorable people in our district. On a dime, we ask teachers to turn teaching from a classroom experience to now an away experience, being at home. And not just teachers. When I talk about teachers, I talk about everybody that's in the school. If you're a teacher assistant, if you're a custodian, if you're a secretary, if you're support from central office, we've all had to adapt. And so I understand those realities. I also understand that our obligation to children has not changed. Our purpose has not changed. What has changed is how we provide that service. And doing it in a way that is informative, that is scientifically based, and that it also takes into consideration the realities of our Edgewood, because Edgewood is its own place and we have to consider the families that we serve. And so those are some of the things that I think I've continued to learn and adapt as the leader of the district.
It was very important for you to make sure that as a district we had all of the appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, that our staff was going to need. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's something, again, we never thought we would talk about that. We provided PPE for all of our students, all of our staff in Edgewood ISD. Can you tell us what some of those items were?
So specifically the face coverings, the face shields, the face coverings, obviously the sanitizing for your hands, really making sure that we are consistent with other school districts and learning from other school districts on how we can better enhance the experience, and also communicating to our faculties on making sure that they fully understand how they can protect themselves, the students that they're with, and doing the best job possible given the environment that we're working in at this point.
And not only PPE has been provided, we're talking about at the end of the day serving our students. We've also provided technology for all of our students that have needed because so many of them are learning from home. And so that's something that I know you've often talked about, and you've been very proud of our board supporting that.
Yes, I do want to say that our Board of Trustees has remained committed to the work of supporting children and families. And so yes, we did make a very considerable investment in terms of technology device for every single student. So we're a one-to-one district now, but also engaging in a conversation around the digital divide that exists in Bexar County. specifically in challenged areas such as the one we live in, which is in Edgewood, and making sure that we, our innovative team, our technology team stood up towers in certain parts of the district at this point so that we can reach the students that don't have access to high quality broadband connections. And so that's the next divide for us, or the next thing that we're tackling. I think we've done a really good job of working with our partners such as the Girl Scouts of America, who opened up their campus at the former Coronado Middle School, expanding their Wi-Fi connections for our folks, but also support from the state and from the city of San Antonio in terms of hotspots for our students that have allowed us to really continue to connect with students, even though this has been very challenging, but making sure that we at least have that connection that extends beyond academics. Don't get me wrong, academics are important, but there's also the social emotional connection with children. A lot of our kids are suffering at home, and they, if it was up to me, I'd love to have them at school because we're the place they go to be safe a lot of times. And so right now we're also making sure that we connect with them because we're their lifeline, and that's important to me and it's important to the board. So yes, we've made a lot of considerable investments in those areas.
Considerable investments. We've talked about PPE, the screening process, Dr. Owl, that we offer at all of our campuses and our district facilities. We talked about now community labs.
Yes,
we're offering testing
yes,
for all of our students, all of our families all of our students and staff who are on campus at our schools. So again, providing as much safety for those that are here during this crazy year that has been the COVID-19 pandemic. The other thing that I want to touch on real briefly is just we've provided the technology, but we've also never stopped servicing our students with regards to meals,
yes,
with regards to them, receiving that social emotional support as well. And so I know you've been very proud of that.
So there's also the support that we receive from entities, first and foremost our nutrition department and our nutrition workers who, when this pandemic broke back in March, they were the front lines for us. They were out there serving curbside meals. A lot of our teams, central office teams also went out and supported them. But the curbside assistance in terms of meals for our family continues. It will continue throughout the spring and the summer because obviously there's a lot of food insecurity in our district. And then the second thing is the wonderful work that our police department continues to do in terms of also we have our food drive-thrus that we've had. Also now this time of year we have the toy drive, and then of course all the little things that happen when you're out there. When a kid gets on a bus and they don't have a jacket, making sure that we find out where we get a jacket or a pair of shoes. So these are the other things that happen that most people don't realize we were doing before the pandemic, but we're doing it now, and we will continue to do it because that is part of the Edgewood brand and the Edgewood way that we serve and support our community. So those are things that are important.
And one of the things I do want to mention just as we finish this recap on 2020 is regarding safety. I do want to remind everybody that all of our campus safety plans are on our website. You can visit www.eisd.net, find your specific school, and you're going to find the campus safety plan on that website. So just again, talking about communication, that information is there also. Changing the subject a little bit because you did mention academics is priority for us in EISD. Academics continued, and so with that, we continue with our innovation plan, and we launched some new schools this year. One of those being the Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls, Gus Garcia University, our Burleson School for Innovation and Education now has a partner with Texas A&M San Antonio, and we also have STEAM at Perales. So that work is continuing in our district.
So that, regardless of pandemic or not, the dedication and the support of students begins with a high quality education. And so part of our commitment as a school district and as a school board and for me as the superintendent is that we are going to bring in strategic partnerships that will allow us to leverage expertise that perhaps we don't have in the school district, but that we can surely leverage by asking folks to come join us in how we operate and how we lead our schools. And so to that end, yes, the campuses that you mentioned have now entered into their first year of innovation. For me personally, it's exciting when I get to walk Las Palmas and I get to see our young ladies in their classroom and that interaction that they're having, but more importantly, that every morning chant that they do that revolves around saying, I am enough as a young lady. That's extremely important to me as a superintendent. It's also very important to me as a father, dad. I have a daughter myself, and that's very special to me to see that with our young ladies and where they will ultimately end up in life. And then of course our other programs like STEAM at our other schools like Perales and our Gus Garcia University School that is built around the notion of social emotional well-being, and that we've actually put in 30 minutes of time in every day for students to have an opportunity to be reflective about the things that they're going through, and to teach them maybe perhaps more robust language so they're able to explain their emotions and their feelings, which we know that our young men and our young women struggle with in middle school, and quite frankly we still struggle as adults. And so these are good skills that we try to teach to have a well-rounded student in Edgewood.
And we're talking about these schools, and we're adding these schools to the schools that have already innovated, which is the Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation, and also our Gardendale Early Learning Program. So innovation in Edgewood ISD, and that 5-year innovation plan that you presented to us, that work is going to continue into 2021 and years to come.
Absolutely, it will continue, and obviously there are other schools that are coming on board with innovation. We just had a board meeting last night where the board approved for us to continue in this work on other campuses. So I know we're going to talk about 2021, so well, I guess we'll talk when we get to that.
So just looking forward to 2021. I mean, again, we're moving forward from 2020, a lot of lessons learned. Now we're looking forward to a new year. What can we expect in with regards to innovation, and then just Edgewood ISD as a whole as we go into 2021 and then 22, 3, 4, and 5.
So I think the first thing, because I want to be cognizant of where we are in terms of the context, the greater context of the city of San Antonio. Obviously, we will continue to work through the pandemic. We will begin by asking students that perhaps are having huge struggles and challenges with virtual learning to come back, asking parents to please give us the consideration and trust us to bring the students back. We believe our schools are safe. Our data would indicate that schools in greater Bexar County, and that includes Edgewood, are safe and they're best places for students to be. We want to educate kids, so we're going to start that conversation here pretty soon with our high school parents, and we'll continue in other areas as we see fit. Also making sure that we continue to innovate. We have other schools that are coming in. We have a young men's leadership school that we are working on in one of our campuses at Cisneros Elementary specifically. We're also looking at bringing an international baccalaureate program into our leadership schools for young men and young women. These are diplomas that are recognized worldwide, and so the idea is to bring that to our schools, turn those schools into K-8 models, so students are allowed to stay together much longer, which is something we hear consistently in our surveys from parents. We want our kids to stay together through middle school. And then I believe our other innovative program was at Perales, and making sure that will be our first school that would be co-located with a specialization in early childhood, which is pre-K through second, and then third through fifth with STEAM. And then our final school would be Winston, and Winston becoming an intermediate school, which is specialized in just third through fifth grade. And what's the reality of teaching a child, boys and girls, that are in the third through fifth grade years? Those are those years where, traditionally we say pre-K to second grade, you learn to read. Third through fifth, you read to learn. So now we're working on focusing to help individuals acquire information and making it working knowledge, not just memorization. Memorization doesn't take you very far in the world. And it's really learning how to use that information. So 2021 continues to be challenging, but as a superintendent, it's very exciting to me because this work is very personal to me. When you work in an environment that allows you to serve people that are challenged, for me it's very personal because I grew up very challenged, both financially, food insecurity, the whole 9 yards. And so that's not something that I've ever forgotten. It is something that is at the base of what I do. It's a big part of my heart, my corazón, as I always say. So I lead with my heart out, and I make very strategic decisions because I also understand that as the CEO, the superintendent of the district, I have to make decisions that will lead us through this pandemic, and I think that will continue in 2021. And I'll close with saying this. The other part of being superintendent is that also this is a legislative year. And so part of my advocacy this year is going to be one, that we continue to advocate for hold harmless so that we are not penalized in terms of our attendance, which obviously affects funding. The second thing is continue to advocate for teachers to be frontline workers that will receive the vaccine should they want it, and that we have access to that in the next wave of vaccines that come to us. And then also again to continue to inform our community so that we continue the work we started 2 years ago. This is the third year of a fixed 5-year plan, and I don't mind sharing with this group that we are now beginning to start planning the next 5 years of work. I'm not a man who waits till the last minute. I don't like to lead that way. And so this next year we will start beginning to plan the next second phase of 5 years, and we're going to be asking people to join committees to help us develop what does year 6 through 10 look like. And we need to be thinking ahead like that in Edgewood. So that's what 2021 brings us.
So still a lot of work before us, and so we are so happy to have the opportunity to continue to serve our students. And I know you're a big advocate for getting out there and visiting our schools, visiting our communities. Hopefully there will come a time again where we will be able to have our pláticas,
I miss
where
my
we will be
pláticas.
able to congregate again as a community, as schools, and meet with our families, because again, as you mentioned, there is a lot of work taking place in our district. Just in closing, Dr. Hernandez, again, this is the holiday season, the moment where many of us take a minute to reflect on ourselves, on our surroundings, and the year. Just in closing, a holiday message to everybody that is watching today.
So I'm going to do this in both languages. Primeramente le quiero dar gracias a los papás del distrito por la oportunidad y la confianza que usted tiene con nosotros. No es algo que yo no tomo como una responsabilidad personal, como superintendente, como padre, como ser humano. Yo tomo esa responsabilidad muy en serio. Entonces, en esta época de reflexión, en esta época de agradecimiento, especialmente en un año como este, espero que usted tenga la oportunidad de sentarse con sus familiares y tomar un poco de tiempo y darle gracias a Dios o en lo que usted crea, y darle gracias por la oportunidad de tener familia, porque muchas familias en esta época les va a faltar alguien, una silla se va a quedar sola en su mesa. Entonces hay que reflexionar y dar gracias sobre todo lo que se nos da como ser humanos y lo grande que es Dios con nosotros, la verdad. And so to our families, I would say, I hope that in this season of reflection, you take a minute to sit with your family and understand the magnitude of what we've gone through this year. There will be people who will have a seat empty at their table this year because someone didn't make it. And whether it was because of COVID or whatever it was, I hope that you will take a time to be reflective and appreciate everything that you've been given, because we are we have a bountiful life. We're blessed. We remain highly favored in the eyes of whether you believe in God or not, or whatever you believe in. I would say to you, be reflective and thankful, because this year has taught us that the things that we thought were going to be true changed. And so for somebody who believes in serving other people, I take that very seriously. I take very seriously the trust you give me and for letting us serve your children. So again, God bless you. I hope that this season gives you everything that you want and everything that you've earned. And so that would be my message to you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hernandez, and thank you for taking a few minutes of your day to talk to us and share this message with everybody that is watching. We know your schedule has been incredibly busy this year also, and so thank you for taking a few moments, and we hope you're able to also get some rest during this holiday break. And so thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for watching, and we hope you too have a wonderful holiday season, and we are definitely looking forward to 2021. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Hasta luego.